Hello.
Oh, good evening, formally. Thank you for completing all the forms, Robert. This will really help us. I think I've gone through everything I need to. I'm Sarah, as you know. Is it Robert, Rob, Bob?
Robert. Rob is fine, not Bob. I've never been a Bob.
Thank you. And tell me, how did you come to find me, choose me to see?
Not sure. I can't remember. I've been trying to see someone for such a long time. Lost track of the websites I've looked at. Been too busy to sort it, you see. I didn't know what to look for, what I was looking for.
What to look for?
Sorry, not what, whom. I've never done this before. Asked anybody for anything before, for help before. I searched the internet but didn't know who I was looking for. Psychiatrists, psychologists, therapists, counsellors. So many titles, roles. It all seemed to blur into one after a while, and I wasn't sure who would be right for me. So I opted for a counsellor.
Any reason?
It was the only one which didn't end in est. Not very logical, I know.
Well, you're here now, and I'm glad you chose an or and not an ist. And then, from all the counsellors that you must have found online, why me? Was it a personal recommendation from one of my clients?
No, and I like that, clients. I'm glad I'm not a patient. Probably one of the reasons I didn't want to see an ist. It would make me sound like I know it doesn't matter. As you say, I'm here now. And to answer your question, your picture on your profile, your face, you look friendly, approachable, caring, trustworthy. Like you'd listen.
Well, that's very kind of you.
I say what I feel. No, I didn't mean that. I don't. I haven't said what I feel. Not for a long time. Well, I try to be honest, I think. That's a good thing, I hope. I want to be honest with you. I need to be honest with you, and for you to believe me. Be fair and straightforward with you, with me. Be me. If I said what I'd felt in the past, I guess I wouldn't be here seeing you, would I?
People see me for lots of reasons. I'm here to assist, to guide you through whatever difficulties, problems you feel you may have, help you understand them, understand you. Talking therapies are a treatment which, they help you to speak about your thoughts, feelings, behaviour, make sense of things, resolve complicated feelings, or how to live with them. And if you want to, find ways to recognise and change the way you think, if you want to. And there are so many types of therapy, and us talking helps me to sort of tailor my approach, the help that I provide, to your situation, your needs.
How long will I need to see you for?
Oh, I don't know. For as long as you need or want to see me. Our sessions will be about 50 minutes at the very most, and as often as we feel that we need to see each other. We'll get to that.
And in the end, you'll be able to tell me how to fix this. Fix me.
I'm not here to fix you. I'm here to understand you and the reason why you are here. I'm not here to judge you or your feelings, but to help you explore them. And as I said, understand them. I'm impartial. I'm not here to tell you what to do. This session is just the beginning, getting to know one another, and it would be wrong of me to make any promises on the outcome for you. So, basics. Is this okay, working online like this?
Fine, yes, of course.
Good. And does everything I've talked about so far make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I will be honest and open with you, and everything we discuss is confidential, as is your being here. I'm not here to judge you, and I'll probably keep reminding you of that.
Yes, absolutely. I have no problem. Well, when I say I've no problem, sorry.
There's no need to feel sorry, to apologise either. I'm not here.
To judge, yes, I know. I guess I was trying to be funny. But just so I know, laughing at my feeble attempts at humour is okay, isn't it?
But what if it isn't funny? That was me trying this humour thing out.
All right.
Robert, it's okay to laugh when you're here, or any other emotion response. I need you to be relaxed, open, honest, as I will be with you.
I know. I appreciate that. Thank you. That's good. This is good.
Good. So, why don't we begin with you telling me about Robert? What's your story?
Wow, my story. Didn't I say on the forums or on the website? Don't you want to know why I'm here? What it is that's wrong?
I think it would be really helpful just to get to know you, for me to understand, get a feel for, well, you. Can you see why that might help us, why it might be a good beginning?
I guess. Where should I start?
Wherever you want to.
I'm 40, divorced, no kids, no life. Okay, right. I'm an accountant, own my own business, doing okay, no money issues. I have a large social circle, enjoy going on holiday with them. I need to be busy, so I work long hours. But that's good, right? Hate being at home. Spending your life rattling around in a big empty house is no life, right? Get up early, gym, work, usually gym again after work. Straight out and see the gang. Dinner, drinks, bed for midnight. That's it, I suppose. That's me. Don't do weekends. Day's a day, isn't it?
Thank you for that. And may I ask you, do you have a partner?
Nothing serious, regular. I haven't the time, to be honest. Been there, don't want to be there again.
And have you any other family?
No. Well, yes, but no. Start again, Rob. I have a sister, but we haven't seen each other in years. She lives abroad, America. Not falling out, nothing like that. We're not a close family, never have been. Never saw each other enough to fall out. Just don't have anything in common. Different people, different lives, different continents.
You said we're not a close family. Does that mean you have more family?
I think I said. I did, didn't I? Not got any kids. Not that I know of, anyhow. No other family. Just me and Big Sis. Parents both dead. Years ago in a car accident. I just left uni and got my first job in my own place when it happened, so it didn't affect me really. Jesus, that was crass. You must think I'm an utter bastard. Sorry, I didn't mean that how it sounded. I meant that I was settled, not a homeless kid or anything. Of course I was upset. Who wouldn't be?
I'm not judging you, Robert, remember? I'm asking you to tell me your story so that I can get to know you better. You're not reading the book of your life, and I'm not here reviewing it. If you were to ask me about me, it wouldn't come out logically, rationally, sensibly either. It's not something we ever get the chance to rehearse, to perfect. I'm not marking you.
I appreciate that. I'm just nervous and not used to being nervous. Control is a great leveler, comforter. Does that mean anything?
It means you're nervous and you don't like how it makes you feel. That's all. And it's wholly understandable. This is a new experience for you. It is for many people, talking about things they wouldn't usually themselves. There isn't a right or wrong to it. And for what it's worth, there's no need to be nervous. This is a place where Well, you can be you, or whoever you want to be, to express yourself, to feel safe.
What the? Sorry. Where did that come from?
It's okay. Just take a moment. May I suggest that you take a sip of your water?
I wish I had a whiskey to go in it. You haven't got one, have you?
Sadly not. Robert, speaking to a professional like me is probably the first time that some people have had the chance to open up. And when we do that, sometimes things such as emotions can come out unexpectedly. It isn't wrong and it doesn't mean anything. It's perfectly normal and nothing to be embarrassed about. It's a good thing.
Sorry. Sorry. I'm not sorry. I know no need to be. It's just it wasn't what I was expecting of this, of me.
What did you expect would happen here?
I've no idea. Perhaps this was a stupid idea.
Please, just sit down, if you like, and take a moment.
I think it was your kindness, your understanding, your voice, manner, cumulative, that made me, it's not something I'm used to. Touchy-feely isn't me, my way, my life. I'm in control, always. I'm not entirely sure now what it was that made me become, well...
Upset?
Frightened.
Can you recall what it was that made you feel the way you did?
No.
Are you sure? I said that I wanted you to feel safe.
Safe, yes.
And do you feel safe now, here online with me?
Yes.
Good, good. Then tell me how you felt when I said that.
I feel... Is there another light you could turn on?
Light? Yes, of course.
Thank you. I just felt... I just needed... I hate winter, don't you? It's the...
Weather?
Yes. No, it's the days. The days are... The mornings arrive late, the afternoons too soon. Well, they are...
Shorter?
Yes, exactly. Limits what you can do. It puts me on edge. Always has. No idea why. Probably because I like being busy. And the seasons are working against me. A conspiracy.
Really?
Can we change the subject?
If you like. But maybe the things you don't want to talk about might help us both in understanding why you booked this consultation. Does that make sense?
Yes. I suppose I don't want to be caught out.
By what?
By me.
We do this at your pace. So take your time. And if you can, just tell me what you're feeling right now. Close your eyes.
No!
That's fine. Then just take your time. And how do you feel in this moment, in this situation?
Like I said, safe.
That's really good. And what makes you feel safe? Being able to chat with me?
No.
Then what?
You won't understand.
I'm trying to. I want to, if you'll allow me. I'm sorry. I'm trying to understand. So forgive me for clarifying this. Are you frightened of...
No! Stop!
Robert, I'm sorry if...
I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't want to talk about it. Talk about that. Change the subject now.
I think we need to settle you down and then perhaps take stock of where we are, then plan ahead and think about the next time when...
No, please. Don't go. Don't make me leave. Not yet. I just need to sit. Wait here. Prepare. I'll be fine then. I have to prepare myself, you see. Always. Wait here, right here. Where it's
safe?
Lights.
How's your coffee?
It's good, thank you. My behaviour, shouting at you, totally unforgivable. Please accept my apology.
Robert, there's no need, genuinely. This is the reason why we are here.
Not for me to behave in that way.
Look, we clearly touched on something which brought out an emotional response from you.
No shit. Sorry, I know, no apologies. It's just... honesty. Right? That's what we agreed. So here goes. I knew what the problem was before I came here.
Okay.
I didn't need to figure it out, discover it. I live with it. Have lived with it most of my life.
Whatever this is, Robert, I'm here to help you. There's no need to be embarrassed by it.
I'm not embarrassed.
Then what?
It's difficult to explain.
May I ask you a question?
Yes.
When did you begin to feel this way?
9 o'clock on the 31st of December 1993. And you're surprised at how specific I am.
Not at all. Events, very specific ones, can stay with us all our lives, whether they were good experiences or not. Memories are very powerful things. They can be very detailed. Some people refer to them as being like doors that we choose to open. And when we do, they can bring back feelings from the time that those memories were made. And if it's a door we haven't chosen to open for a while, then we may not be prepared for what we find behind it, and equally, our response.
But what if we choose to keep it closed for a good reason?
Such as?
Because what is behind it is trying to get out, to find us.
I don't understand.
You referred earlier to my reading the book of my life to you. Well, there was an earlier chapter I didn't mention.
The date?
Was the chapter that I've tried to escape every day ever since. My parents married very young. Had my sister and I when they were young. It meant that my grandparents were around and also my great-grandparents, albeit I only saw them a couple of times a year. They lived some distance away on a farm. Although the farm was no longer working, they wouldn't leave it. It was in the middle of nowhere, desolate, almost Dickensian. It had been in my father's family since the beginning of the 19th century, and not one stone had changed since the day it was built. Nothing special, but it was old. Old buildings, old land, old air, old memories, old shadows. Everything about the place had a feeling of age. It had borne witness to centuries of life and death. The village it was on the edge of was mentioned in the Magna Carta. And it was silent, ever so silent. And unless there was a moon, there was...
Sounds idyllic. What were they like, your great-grandparents?
Ancient. Their clothes, their language, their way of life was that out of date. It was almost alien to me. Like being on the set of a period drama. They had no TV and just about had electricity when it worked. Water came from a well, but they had a telephone which never rang, which I never saw them use. It was like them. Museum piece. Flagstone floors downstairs. Bare floorboards upstairs. Whitewashed, uneven walls. Net curtains. Lace tablecloths. Heavy, dark wood furniture. A range that burned peat, which mingled with the stale smell of tobacco from the pipe of Papa's. That was what we called him. And she was Nan, which was weird because that actually was her name, Nan.
What was your relationship like with them?
That was old too. Formal. They loved me, us, desperately. I knew that. But you know, I don't think they ever used my name. Papa referred to me as lad or the boy when he spoke to Nan. And she always called me lad too. Now lad, dinner's ready, go wash up. He wasn't really into modern expected displays of affection. But you could tell from his eyes and his broad smile that it was genuine and warm. He would pat me on the head and I'd sit with him whilst he told me stories of the farm, the stock they kept, family history, the names of all his sheepdogs. And with that subject, he always lit up. The most animated I ever saw him. His pipe was always close by, and the smoke from it lay heavy in layers in the air. Nan was a hugger, and sloppy kisses. She always seemed to have a hanky up her sleeve and stand by ready to spit on and wipe my face.
You appear happy talking about them, about your memories of being with them.
I guess, in the main. What am I saying? Yes, of course, I loved them.
And the date you mentioned,
It's when I last stayed with them.
why was that? Did you lose contact or lose them after that?
No, I lost myself. Have you ever been frightened, Sarah?
Of course. Sometime in our lives, we all experience something which frightens us.
For me, fear's an accompaniment, an unwanted companion. It eats away at my rest and relaxation, drains my energy, keeps me on edge. And worst, fills me with dread of facing situations which bring it back, allow it back.
And do you have many fears?
No, just the one. Just that one. And it's the reason, the only reason why I'm here.
Would you be happy to share it with me?
Yes. But I need to go back to the day. That day. Or should I say, that night.
I'm sorry about the lamp flickering like that. I've never done that before. I think the bulb might be about to go.
Don't worry, it's not. The 31st of December 1993 was a Friday. My parents were going to a New Year's Eve dinner. My grandparents were supposed to have been staying over to look after us. But Grandad came down with something and didn't want to sleep over. It was decided that my sister would go to them and I would stay on the farm with Nan and Papa. Dad was not happy, as he had to do all the ferrying around. So he dropped me off early, 2ish, and was to collect me the following evening. They wanted just me to stay, as they'd not seen me for my 9th birthday a few months earlier, so wanted to make my stay special. Just me and them.
You have a very good memory.
With good reason. We nearly didn't get there. The weather had been dreadful, was closing in that afternoon. It snowed, you see, and more was forecast. Papa frequently spoke of the winters over the years and how they'd been cut off for days, sometimes weeks by the snow. I was therefore excited on the drive over. Dad was anxious, nervous. The thought of my being cut off by the snow and the chance of then perhaps missing the first day of school was more than a young townie like me could cope with. A boy's own adventure to regale my school friends with. But we arrived. We said our goodbyes and Dad left almost immediately. Papa seemed on edge when Dad had gone. He'd been under the weather and the chores he needed to do hadn't been done. He was a worrier, and if things weren't just so, it would plague him. I offered to help, so we set about them. Nothing vital, but they lived by routines, rituals, which they followed religiously. You could even tell the day of the week by the meal they had. With it being Friday, it was going to be fresh fish, and Nan had baked my favourite fruitcake as a treat. The smells of the place were a constant. Baking, tobacco, burning peat. And every Friday, a small hint of Estee Lauder youth dew in the air from Nan. Her way to mark the weekend and make her feel special. And remind Papa that she was. By the time we'd finished sorting things that Friday, Papa was worried. If the weather closed in, we would not have enough peat to burn if we got snowed in, so he decided to set off to collect some more from where it was stored. Collect it before?
Robert? Oh, the lamp's flickering again. But I'm sorry about this. I really do think the bulb's going to go.
No. I'm sorry, no. I told you. It'll be fine.
How do you know?
Because it always is. This is how it begins.
How? What begins?
By the story, of course. It will all become clear. Just trust me. By the time we'd put our coats and boots on, the light was disappearing. There were no outside lights, and Papa had said there would be no moon that night. We opened the back door, and it was blowing a blizzard by that stage. There's hardly any visibility. But Papa went anyhow, and despite my protests, he told me to stay inside as it would take him a while.
Would he have had to travel far for the peat?
Only the bottom field, but a fair walk in any weather. There was an old single-storey stone building, he called it. We knew it as the pit. He had told me before that it predated the farm. It was close to an area of land where he cut the peat, so it was stored in there to keep it dry. As and when they needed more, he would load some onto a small handcart and wheel it up to the house. I'd never been inside it, but I'd walked by it with him many times. Could never tell whether I eyed up the building or the other way around. But something about it. I was drawn to it. A part of me.
Yes.
I couldn't reconcile it. Papa told me that centuries before, if any animals needed to be slaughtered, it would be done inside there. There were no windows, and just one door which was split in two. The top half was sometimes left open. For some reason, it fascinated me.
For what reason?
I'm not sure. There was something about it. It wasn't what I could see.
I'm not sure what you mean.
No matter what the weather, the position of the sun, when the top half of the door was open, you could see
Inside?
nothing. It was completely black inside, devoid of anything. There was no hint of definition of any walls or shapes of what was stored there. As if the sun could not get in. As if it was not welcome. as if no one was.
And yet you were still drawn towards it.
Yes. And the nature of it soon became clear. The summer of that year, on one of our visits, my sister and I went walking with Papa. He often walked the bounds of his land and would take us with him. Show off the estate like Lord of the Manor. On this occasion, my sister ran ahead of us. She ran towards the pit.
And what happened?
As soon as he realised where she was heading, Papa stopped. He panicked, called her, screamed at her to come back to him. I had never heard him raise his voice. Ever. He was odd. Not himself. I distinctly remember what he said to her. Don't you ever let old Nick notice you looking at him.
It was an odd thing to say. Was that it?
Far from it. I asked him, "Who's old Nick, Papa?" He was silent, almost hesitant. His face lost all expression. It wasn't that he couldn't find the words. It's that he didn't want to. He pointed towards the pit. He simply replied, "The dark."
The dark.
Yes. I said, "But Papa, I'm not afraid of the dark." He squatted down and took hold of my shoulders and stared deep into my eyes before he spoke. "Boy, this is old land with old shadows. There is no reason to be afraid of the dark, but never give it a reason to notice you. Pass through it. Be respectful when you're in its presence. But know this, when you stare into the dark, you never know what is staring back."
Our history, our communities are filled with folklore, the oral tradition handed down through generations. Do you think this is where your fear comes from?
No, let me finish. On that New Year's Eve, he'd been gone about an hour. Came back, caked in snow, frozen to the core. Such weather had been his life, but this was just too much for a man of his years. He came back with hardly any peat. The cart had got stuck, you see, and he wasn't strong enough to move it. All he was worried about was being snowed in and us not being able to keep warm. Nan told him not to worry and made him get changed and have a bath to get warm. He was all out of sorts for the rest of the evening. Kept looking out the window towards the bottom field, pacing the room on edge. We had dinner and he went to bed, clearly still worried. I'd brought my music with me and was listening to it and reading for the rest of the night. Nan said we would see in the new year in the morning and went to bed by 8. I carried on reading. I tried to sleep, just couldn't settle.
Were you worried about your Papa?
Yes. And the fact that first thing in the morning he would be out in the cold again. So that's when I decided to do it.
To do what?
To go to the pit on my own.
Knowing that it made you feel the way you did, after all your Papa had said. I'm sorry, but why?
To collect more peat. I thought it seemed a simple thing, but there was something else. And even though it frightened me, I had to go. Whilst they slept, I went downstairs, got dressed and went outside. He was right. There was no moon. The snow had stopped. But there was now a really strong wind, bordering on being a gale, and the snow was so deep. I slowly made my way to the bottom field. I thought if I could just make several journeys, with several blocks each time, we would be okay, and he would be happy. When I got there, the pit was completely covered. buried in drifting snow. The top half of the door was open, and even with no light, all I could see was that black rectangle of the opening, framed against the snow. The top half of the door was banging in the wind. The bottom half was bolted, frozen solid with ice. I tried it, shook it, but it was no use. I felt around, and there was a bucket nearby, so slowly I climbed on it and peered inside.
And what could you see?
There wasn't what I would call darkness or shadow. All I could see was black. The purest, blackest of black. As if blackness was a tangible thing you could see. I could sense that even with the wind lashing around outside, just inside the open, it was completely and utterly still. Despite all I felt, instinctively, I reached out and put my hand inside the void. I moved it around as if trying to displace the darkness somehow, get a sense of it, touch it, know it. It was then I decided
To do what?
to go inside. Using the bucket, I climbed up onto the door. I lifted myself up, locked my elbows, but suddenly I lost my balance and fell forward into the darkness. As I did so, my coat or something caught the top half of the door. The wind must have then caught it too, and as I fell into, I didn't know where. My last recollection was of hearing the door slam shut, and I fell with my full weight, head first onto the ground. I must have lost consciousness. God knows for how long. When I came around, my head was throbbing. I took my gloves off, put my hand to my head, and it felt warm and wet. I could taste the blood running into my mouth. I thought I was blinded by the fall, and then it dawned on me.
What?
The dark. I was inside something which was so utterly devoid of any glimmer of
Light?
hope. Oppressive. Consuming. I couldn't breathe. I was drowning. Suffocating in it. I needed to get out. I felt my way along the wall to the door and I shook it, pushed it, banged it with all the strength I could muster. But it was no use. It was jammed shut. I could tell the wind was whipping around outside the building, but inside there was nothing. It was as still as anything. Whatever slight gap there may have been to let light in was sealed by the snow. I shouted, called out, screamed, but the room was completely dull, dead of any resonance. The wind and the distance to the house. I knew no one could hear me. No one would find me. I was a prisoner of the pit. And all I could hear in my mind was what Papa had said. When you stare into the darkness, you never know what is staring back.
And you have carried this with you all these years since then. No wonder you have the feelings that you do. How did you manage to get out?
I didn't. I couldn't move. I wasn't frozen by the cold. I was frozen by fear, terror of seeing something or being noticed by that place and what was there. I daren't make a sound. I kept my eyes closed, even covered them with my hands to make sure, and pushed myself into the corner next to the piles of peat. And in that deafening silence, I waited.
To be rescued?
To be noticed.
By your family?
By the darkness. Just like Papa had warned me. I sensed a presence that was not alone. And then from somewhere, nowhere, I heard it.
Heard? It? Dear God. Oh, but it could have been the wind blowing across around the building.
Oh no. That was nothing of nature's making. I froze. Stopped breathing. Petrified. Even if I'd wanted to scream, I knew nothing would come out. And then I recalled what else Papa had said. There's no reason to be afraid of the dark, but never give it a reason to notice you.
So what did you do?
Nothing. Every now and again, as the hours passed, I heard the same noise come from out of the darkness. As if the space I was in was much bigger now I was inside it. A long, single, deep sigh. It seemed to resonate in a manner which was impossible for that space. And in the void, out of the corner of my eye, every now and again, there was something.
Something. A person. An animal.
Neither. Crouched. I knew it. Waiting. Watching. Reaching out. Just stopping short of touching me. Tempted. Yearning to make contact. Unable to do so because I did what Papa had warned me to. Stay unnoticed. And so it couldn't make the connection it desired, yearned for. By that stage, I felt I was going insane. Was the sound really there, or was it in my mind? I had a sense that something was moving around me in there. That was being watched, observed, studied, for the slightest display of anything, for an excuse to be found wanting and be...
What?
Punished, taunted, a plaything to be terrorized.
How did you get out?
At some point, I don't think I fell asleep. I must have passed out again. When Nan got up that morning, she couldn't find me. Papa looked for me. And when he'd exhausted all the places he thought I might be, he rang the police and my parents and they began a search. Because the pit was completely covered in snow, it was the last place anybody thought I could be.
So how long were you trapped in there?
18 hours. If it wasn't for my coat, hat, gloves, I would have died from the cold. They were amazed I hadn't suffocated. I don't remember being found. Apparently, I was taken to hospital, kept overnight, and then taken home. I don't actually remember anything for nearly a week afterwards. Nan and Papa were inconsolable. He blamed himself. My father blamed him. They never spoke a word to each other again. He died a short time afterwards from a heart attack. Nan lost it after that. Was moved into a home, but only lasted several months. And we never spoke about it, ever. The subject was banned. Even their memory took on the status of persona non grata. And I was left with it. And here I am. And that's why I am the way I am. Why I fear it. Struggle to talk about it. The dark. Till recently.
Do you mean now?
No. I have spoken with people. Those who know this live on the edge of it. There are others like me, you see. I found them on the internet. Others who've experienced similar. Apparently, it's a burden which I need to have removed, be relieved of. It's quite a simple thing to do, actually. You've spoken so much about honesty, Sarah.
Absolutely.
I said at the outset that I would be honest with you. Because of that, having told you my story, my burden, I must know from you.
What?
Do you believe me?
Well, it's not that simple, Robert. To be honest,
Honesty. Yes. You kept saying that word. Trust was another thing you said we needed. And I do trust you. Implicitly.
Good.
You said I'm not insane. So from my experience, I need to know. Do you believe me? Do you believe me?
Yes. Yes.
Then say it. Say the words.
I believe you.
Thank you. You will never know how much what this means to me. You see, being found by the darkness happened to me regularly. Has all my life, since that New Year's Eve. It's the waiting for it, you see. The knowing that as you enter any darkness, look into any darkness, your presence might have been noticed. Entering the world it inhabits, and being alone with it terrified me. It only found me if I wasn't careful. And now, I've been very careful this evening, Sarah. Very. Now I know it will never find me again.
And you think that just having this one session with me, that's it? My believing you? And you're content with that?
Oh, I don't think. I know. My new friends told me. The ones I met through the internet. And they were right. I can sense it. I know it won't happen again.
Exactly what won't happen?
You experienced it with me this evening. It always begins in the same way. Doesn't matter where I am. For a second. A brief moment. The lights. They flicker. Usually once. So quick you can't tell whether it's happened or not. Whether your eyes, the place, the moment is playing tricks on you. Like happened here before. Light helps. More the better. And then I know it'll be okay. But if not, darkness. The presence. But you are safe. Nothing will happen here now. You're not on your own, you see. You need to be on your own. Alone and in the dark. And then being too obvious, disrespectful towards it. Looking for what might be. For something which doesn't want to be found. That's when. Do you still think I'm sane?
This isn't about sanity, but I do think this is something that I can help you with, and I do still feel that we need to meet again. It may take some time, but I'm more than happy to work with you and help you understand what happened to you and ways to cope and with how it makes you feel. So you're clearly very troubled by the things from your past, and we need to explore them further. This one chat won't. Well, it can't have.
Oh, but it has. Trust, honesty, and a person believing me. I've shared it with someone else now. With you. I feel so much better already. Like a huge burden. A weight has been lifted. Knowing that you now know. They told me that's how it would be.
They, internet crank. I still don't get it. What about your problem?
I don't have a problem. Not any longer. Thanks to you. The problem is no longer mine. You have helped me so much. More than you could possibly know. I'll be forever in your debt. I'll make my payment to you by backs as requested, with a little extra as a token of appreciation. Good night. Thank you again, Sarah.
You're leaving after all that you've said. You're going out into the dark. What about the dark?
What about it?
Are you completely
Insane?
What? No, look, for God's sake, Robert, how can you suddenly not be frightened of it? None of this makes any sense. You don't make any sense.
I don't need to.
Why?
Because it can no longer see me, Sarah.
There's something you're not telling me. Truth? Honesty? Remember? We agreed.
Then let me be very, very clear, Sarah. The darkness has noticed someone else now. Someone it needs. Someone who believes.
But Robert... Robert? What the hell was all that about? What in God's name is wrong with these lights? Hello? Hello? Is that you, Robert? Robert? Is there somebody there?